Hello amazing, wonderful people, what is going on? If you're new here, my name's Chandler, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys the books that I read in October and all the books I want to read in November. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. I would say overall October was a pretty good reading month for me. I read 5 books, I think, which isn't like incredible for me, but it's also kind of like a little bit below average, but that makes sense because I had a lot of stuff going on in October. The first books on the top are the books that I've read in October, and then the other ones are the ones that I want to read next month. I also did read more than 5 books in October basically because I am in the middle of a lot of books right now. I don't know how that happened. Let's get out my computer because I took notes on the books as I was reading them, so then I could kind of give you guys a bit of a better wrap up. So the first book that I read in October was The Deal. It's the first book in the Off-Campus series, and I don't think I'm going to be continuing the series, at least not anytime soon. It overall was a good book for me, but it wasn't like anything crazy, but I did really enjoy it. I actually read this as an ebook. It's actually free on Apple Books, so if you guys want to read this, it is actually free, so that's amazing. I put that the book was so cute. I overall just loved it. It basically is like a college fake dating romance, and the guy is a hockey player and the girl is like really smart, and she offers to tutor him because he needs to get his grades up in order to stay in hockey, and then there's like a romance. Yeah, overall I think Garrett Graham, who is the main love interest, I think he is amazing, and we need more Garrett Grahams in real life. I actually DNF'd a book in October, so let me go get it real quick. I forgot to get that one. That book is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I got like 50 pages in, I think. Well, yeah, I got to page 53, so I didn't even get that far. Also, if you don't know, DNF means did not finish, so I'm gonna put the book down for now, and I'll probably come back to it at a later date, but for now, I'm just not gonna finish reading it. It was just too confusing for me and like too boring because it is a fantasy. Basically, I definitely could come back to this, but it was just too confusing for me and I really wasn't enjoying it. And I think I also just wasn't in the mood to read a fantasy, so that makes sense because if you're not in the mood to read a fantasy, you're not gonna like fantasy. So that is this book. I don't think that really counts as me reading it, so there is that. The next book I read was an audiobook actually, and that is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I think I gave this book 2.5 stars. It was like an okay read. The only thing I really liked about it was like the fall vibes of the book. The main characters are witches, and the main girl accidentally hexes her ex, and then the ex comes back and he is hexed and they have to figure out how to undo the curse. I didn't really like any of the characters. I don't even remember their names, to be honest. I just didn't connect with them at any level really, and I thought the writing was really childish, but it's not even a YA book, so that did kind of confuse me, like why it was like that. The next book I read was my favorite book of the month by far, and that was Normal People by Sally Rooney. I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. It is the perfect length. It's under 300 pages. It's so short. I loved the writing. I listened to like a playlist while I read it. I just felt so smart and intellectual reading it. I really like Sally Rooney's books. So far I have read Beautiful World, Where Are You? And Normal People, and I really want to read her other book, Conversations with Friends, because I have liked all her books so far. I put that the book was adorable, and I loved how relatable everyday things were. It is a romance, but it's also a coming of age, and it's also just kind of everything. It is about 2 people who are never really in a relationship. It's more a situationship type of thing, and then they keep being drifted apart and pulled apart by things, but then fate keeps bringing them back together, and you follow them from high school till after college, I think. I don't remember the exact timeline, but I love this book. I loved all the characters. They were flawed, but I think it's just so realistic because not every character can be like Garrett Graham, you know? I thought that this book definitely articulated things that I never have been able to put into words before, and I really liked that it did that for me. The book is very, very character driven. There really isn't a lot that goes on. You're basically just following the characters. There's no plot twist. There's nothing of that sorts. This is just a good, cozy little read, and I loved it. It's definitely a new favorite. I cried multiple times during this book because of some of the incredible quotes. Sally Rooney's quotes really get me. Literally everyone knows about this quote, but it's just so good. It says, Marianne, he said, I'm not a religious person, but I do sometimes think God made you for me. I'm so excited to watch the show because there's like a show on Hulu. I just really loved it, and I definitely recommend it. And if you don't like this book though, I don't think you would like Beautiful World, Where Are You? Because they do feel very similar. Beautiful World, Where Are You was a 4.5 star for me. This is a definite 5 star. I just overall think this book is incredible. The next book I read was also a 5-star read for me, and I actually listened to it as an audiobook, but I got the physical copy the other day, and that is Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. And this book it's wow. It follows a girl who lives in a very like uptight, one way of thinking, one way of living household. Then she spends the summer babysitting this family who is the complete opposite of her family. They have such different values, such different ways of thinking and living. And it really just like opens her eyes that the world isn't black and white and that there's a whole gray area to explore. And I really loved this. This is such a good coming of age novel, and it's fairly short as well. Yeah, it's just a little bit over 300 pages. I loved the little girl in this book that she babysits. Izzy was so cute. She was so smart. She just had an amazing way of looking at life and things. I found that this book almost reminds me of Daisy Jones and the Six. It's definitely different, but it does have like rock stars involved and very coming of age, and in the 70s, I think. I think Daisy Jones and the Six was a little before that, but it just kind of overall had very similar vibes to that, and that makes sense because I literally love Daisy Jones and the Six. This book was also very, very, very character driven. I mean, there were things that happened, but overall, you're mainly just focusing on the characters and their lives and their coming of age. I said that this was such an amazing story with great themes and great characters, and I definitely recommend this book. Oh, and also it's by Jessica Anya Blau. I don't know if I said that, but that's Mary Jane. Then I read Legendary by Stephanie Garber, and this is the second book in the Caraval trilogy, and I loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. I gave the first book 4.5 stars, but I do feel like this one was just as good, so I don't know how that works, but I listened to this as an audiobook and had the physical version as well, so I kind of did both simultaneously. I overall just feel like the magical vibes of Caraval were better in the first book, but this book is still very, very good. It's actually from a different point of view than the first book was in. So the first book is from the point of view of Scarlett, and this book is from the point of view of Donatella. It's not like the same story, different point of views. I'm just saying like the story continues, but we switch point of views. So I'm very interested to see whose point of view Finale, the third book, is in. I think I enjoyed the first book more because I liked Scarlett better as a narrator than I liked Donatella. Also, when I listened to the audiobook of this, some of the characters' like accents or voices, I was like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. But this book definitely delves more into the fantasy aspect of Caraval. There's like magical creatures and like things like that were not in the first book. So I think that was definitely interesting. Also, I think I enjoyed this less. I still enjoyed this a ton though, guys, I promise. Because Julian, who is the love interest in the first book, because this book has subplots of romance, and Julian, who was the love interest in the first book, he was not in this book, like barely at all, and that made me sad because I literally love Julian. Julian is literally amazing, and I also really like the plot twist at the end of this book. I also love the covers, like they just feel so magical to me. Now we're gonna get on to my November TBR, and the first 4 books that I'm gonna talk to you about are ones that I am currently in the middle of reading. Some of them I'm way farther in than I am with others, but I'm not gonna talk about them at all. I'm just going to talk about like why I went to read them and kind of, yeah, that type of stuff. The first book I want to read is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and I am currently on I'm over halfway. I'm on page 420 and it's like 600 something pages, and I tabbed this book so much. I love her so far. Definitely 5-star vibes. I don't know why this has taken me like a month to read. I think it's just so thick, and I've been reading other books alongside it, so I'm kind of picking this book up, picking another book up, switching back and forth type of thing. But I really want to finish this book next month, and I'm sure I will. I might even finish it this month because I'm actually filming this on the 30th of October, so there's still like a day left. The next book is It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, and I'm actually filming a reading vlog for this, so stay tuned for that. This is the sequel to It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and I pre-ordered this, got it when it came out. I don't know why I pre-ordered it because literally I have been reading it so slowly, and I don't know why. Kind of just because I've been reading so many books at once that I get through them slower, but I kind of finish them all at once, if that makes sense. I'm on page 164 of this book. I think I'm like just about halfway through it, maybe a little bit more. I kind of am looking at this as like an epilogue novel, and I definitely don't think you need to read this book. If you needed like more closure than the first book gave you, which I definitely did, then this book is for you. And also if you're an Atlas lover like me, this book is for you. And I am really liking it so far. It's so floppy, like look at that. She's so floppy. But yeah, the next book is If We Were Villains by Emma Rio. I am saying I started this book, but I'm literally on page 20, like we're barely into this book. I don't really know what this book is about that much. I know that it's like a murder mystery, I think, and it's like dark academia, and it follows people that are like in a play, and I just finished my play actually, and I love theater and stuff, so I think this will be very interesting to read about. And people compare this often to The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and I loved that book, so hopefully I will love this book as well. The next book is The House on the Lake by Riley Sager, and I'm reading this actually on my phone because I like downloaded it as an ebook, and I am not very far into it at all. I don't even know what it's about really. I'm barely into it, but I do know it's like a murder mystery, I believe. Like there's a woman that goes missing, and the woman that lives in the house across the lake from them is the one that notices. I don't even really know. I'm kind of bad at explaining books if you can't tell. So that's it for the books that I have started, but a book that I just started yesterday, like I'm literally 5 minutes into it, is Dial A for Aunties. I don't know who it's by, but I'm listening to the audiobook of this book, and I know this is like a murder mystery comedy. I don't even know how that's possible, but I do know it's like a murder mystery, but it's more lighthearted and comedic, and there's a mystery aspect to it, but it still isn't like a dark book or anything like that. I've heard people talk about that book forever. Literally, it's been on my TBR for over a year, so I thought why not just pick up the audiobook. But the next book I want to read is A Court of Wings and a Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, and this is the sequel to Court of Mist and Fury. I think they're like the same length, roughly. They're both like chunky. Like this is over 600 pages, maybe almost 700. Okay, I don't want to spoil anything for myself. This book is over 700 pages. So hopefully, oh my gosh, she's floppy. I don't know why, but this book is like a brick. This book is not floppy at all, and it's so annoying because I've cracked the heck out of the spine. I'm so glad this book is floppy and that I can actually lay it out when I read it without cracking the freaking spine. Anyways, I also love the way these books look together. Like, look at the spines, just like the vibrant, gorgeous. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this book. I know it is about a war that like goes on, and they're kind of preparing for war right now in the book I'm reading. So I've heard the war happens in this book, and yeah, I'm just so excited to read it. I love this world, I love these characters, and I definitely recommend the ACOTAR series if you guys like fantasy. I think it's such a good entry into the fantasy world because it's not that confusing or anything. I mean, it's fantasy, so there's going to be some parts you don't understand right away, but overall I just think it's a good entrance into the fantasy realm, and I'm so glad I picked up the series, and I'm so excited to continue reading it next month. Don't mind the sun right here. I'm sitting at a weird angle. But the next book is Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, and I don't even know what this book's really about. I saw it at Goodwill and I have seen it before on like booktube, and I was like, sure, let's pick her up. It's always good to have a good fall cozy mystery type of thing. So basically it seems like it's about a daughter who goes missing, and then 10 years after her disappearance, her mother is trying to like put her life back together. But then the mother meets this man whose daughter is very similar to her daughter that went missing. But now the mom is kind of questioning, did her daughter really run away like the police suspected, or did something else happen? That sounds so good. Ugh. I'm so excited to read this. It seems pretty short. Yeah, like 340 pages, good length. And I think this will just be a good cozy mystery to read in November. Then we have November 9th by Colleen Hoover, which I actually want to read on November 9th because why not? I know it doesn't even have that much to do with November 9th. I hate when books are stiff like this and you can barely open it without cracking the spine. So annoying. Anyways, but I know this is about this like husband and wife or something like that couple who every year meets together only on November 9th. And then I know there's like a big plot twist or something crazy that's been going on. So I don't know, I don't know, it just sounds good to me, and I like co-host books, so I'm excited to read this one. Then we have a book I've been wanting to get to for so long. I kind of like the sun pocket here because you like can't see what book I'm about to pick up. Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I am so excited to read this. I've been wanting to read it forever. I know it's about like a girl and a guy, and the guy is like mute, maybe? I think he's mute. And he's like really like shy, and the girl is the one who's more outgoing type of thing, and they both have like troubled pasts and they kind of just find comfort in each other. So I'm really excited to read about their story, and this cover is freaking gorgeous. Oh my gosh. But yeah, okay, 2 more books, guys. Stay with me here. We then have The American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas, and this is her newer book. It's the same author as The Spanish Love Deception, which I really like that book. I give it like 5 stars at the time, but now that I think about it, it's probably like a 4-star book. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this book, and I think it's about the girl from The Spanish Love Deception. It's about her cousin and then her best friend. Yeah, that's what it is. There's a dog on the back. Look, oh my gosh. I think they both are staying in the girl from The Spanish Love Deception in her apartment because she's like on her honeymoon or something like that. And then there's like a romance. So there's that. And then the final book I'm so excited to read is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings, and this book has been blowing up literally everywhere. I actually saw Steph Board talk about it before it blew up on booktube, so I think she's the one that actually blew it up, which makes sense. She's so popular. Look at this spine and like look at this cover. Like, oh my gosh, gorgeous. I know it's a romance book, but it's like not your typical type of romance, and she actually self-published this, which is so cool. Like, good for her. And I know this has 3 books right now in this series, but there will be more in the future. I'm just really excited to read this. It's so thick though. Oh my gosh, how long is this? Yeah, this is like 500 pages. So hopefully I enjoy it. But that is all the books that I want to read in November and all the books that I read in October. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you want to read any of these books, any of that type of stuff. Stay tuned for my It Starts With Us reading vlog. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!